Insanely simple. Severe incurable cases of mental disease rapidly reversed with insanely simple hygienic methods from the pioneers of health reform. Hello there, I am John Everblessed. The two short stories you're about to hear are from the long-lost wisdom of the pioneers of health reform. These stories were so fascinating that I had to give them their own little video here. The pioneers of hygienic healthcare did not manage disease. They reversed them, even mental disease, by simply treating its cause. Common sense. Drugs were not required, just an understanding of basic physiology and common sense intervention. In the book Ministry of Healing, page 127, we are told that disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. In case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Unhealthful conditions should be changed, wrong habits corrected. Then, nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities and to reestablish right conditions in the system. That counsel was carried out in the following two remarkable stories from the pioneers of health reform. Extreme mental and physical illness rapidly dissolved with insanely simple hygienic methods at the Sun Diet Sanatorium in East Aurora, New York. Case number 1, insanity, extremely suicidal, nonstop crying, incontinence, no chewing, constipation, and toxicity. This is from the book Health via Food, The Sun Diet Way to Health, 1929 by Dr. William Howard Hay, page 93 through 96. Here's the story in the doctor's own words. Only recently, within the past 3 years, a case diagnosed as dementia precox, or reported by her family as so diagnosed, was brought in for treatment of the supposed neurasthenia. The husband admitting some mental aberration, which he described as deep blues or depression, that caused a great deal of crying, a not unusual condition. She was accepted, and the husband departed to his home somewhere in Pennsylvania. Further examination of the patient developed the fact that she was wholly irrational, could not even answer questions, having both amnesic and ataxic aphasia, cried continually, and required a special nurse to restrain her from throwing herself out the window. She passed stool and urine involuntarily and apparently unconsciously. She refused food or ate like a hungry dog, bolting everything offered, no matter what its character. She was obstinately constipated, with foul breath and heavily coated tongue. Pulse was rapid and feeble. Sleep was nearly impossible, even under heavy hypnotics. As detoxification progressed, all her symptoms cleared up. But not for 2 weeks did she quit trying to escape, even to throw herself out the window. She stopped crying before the end of the first 2 weeks, and before the end of the 3rd week, she was one of the very sunniest and brightest patients in the place. And unless she returns to her former mistakes in selecting and combining her foods, it will be safe to guarantee that her mental trouble will never return. What did we do for her? Nothing in a sense, but to stop her from doing the things that before had caused her troubles. We did use the saline purge freely at first. Common Pluto water. Yeah, you can find that on the internet. A solution of Epsom and Glauber salts for 3 days in succession. Accompanying these 3 days with copious quantities of orange and lemon juice. Nothing more. And following this 3-day period of preliminary house cleaning, she took twice a day, a full enema of tepid or slightly cool water to clear the colon and to keep it daily cleared. Diet after the first 3 days was limited to the natural foods in the natural state, the fresh fruits and vegetable salads, though because she would not chew her food, these were given in the form of extracted juices for perhaps the first week. No other food of any kind was used. Nothing at all was done except these simple things. And the result was that when the body had thrown off enough of the encumbering waste, mentality came back as good as ever. And she returned to her home in 4 weeks as sane as she had ever been before in her life, and a very bright young woman. Now, this case is cited as typical of the regime. All institutions for the insane have been for years stressing methods of detoxification. But these consist of baths, rubs, sunshine, fresh air, and such modalities, none of which go deep enough to reach a case already progressed with this condition. Hey, Dr. Kellogg at the Battle Creek Sanitarium did. He was known for it. Now, for this reason, they have not been able to show striking results, though their statistics do show better results than without using these partially corrective measures. If a nutritionist who fully understands these essentials of detoxification and properly corrected diet could be turned loose in the average insane hospital with carte blanche to go as far as he wished, there is little doubt that in 1 year he could empty the place of fully half its inmates. For in 1 year he would be able to change the physical state of the entire group, so that only those rather advanced with degenerative change would fail to show an improvement that would convince anyone of even half open mind that the table is the cause of insanity and its cure. Now, that's the end of that quoted story. Let's make some comments on that. And God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat." That's from Genesis 1:29. God created us to be vegetarians. Mankind was to care for the animals, not eat them. This is a quote from chapter 27 of Healthful Living, 1897. Cancer, tumors, and all inflammatory diseases are largely caused by meat eating. Animal products and refined processed food-like substances are likely the most prolific cause of disease. That's me talking, not the Healthful Living. Other causes of constipation include stress and negative emotions, hate, fear, remorse, grief, jealousy, anger, etc. Corsets, tight trousers, ignoring the urge to go. Many pharmaceuticals cause constipation. Lack of water drinking and a sedentary lifestyle. All right, case number 2, dementia. Not only did she have dementia, she had epilepsy, depression, extreme fear of thunderstorm, constipation, and toxicity again. This time, same author, same book, pages 280 to 281. And again, in the doctor's own words. A little lady from New York City who was staying at the Sun Diet Sanatorium with her husband and who was epileptic had a fixed and nearly lifelong fear of thunderstorms. And when one of these occurred, her husband would generally find her under the bed or in a dark closet. After she had been nearly 4 weeks there, a tremendous thunderstorm broke one afternoon, and she stood with her husband on the front porch and laughed at it, all the fear of it being gone. She was constipated and toxic. Her epilepsy coming from this cause, as is generally the case, and after the colon was brought up to date and kept there, she had no more convulsions, nor even the petite mal or little sickness that indicates the tendency to epilepsy. Yes, this is still the doctor talking here. With the epilepsy went the fears, for both were caused by the lowered condition of body tone due to the very toxic state. Reports from this case later on were that neither the epilepsy nor the fear of storms returned. Evidence that she was adhering pretty closely to the directions for food selection and combination. And also that she had evidently used the enema for a long enough time to permit the corrected dietary to restore the missing colonic action. That's interesting. The last quote here from that doctor: substandard states of the health are the cause of senseless and useless fears. And everyone can recall cases that are afraid of everything, driving, walking, even staying at home, for whom everything hides an imaginary danger. What women, especially, suffer from these useless fears is enough alone to create bad states of the body. Here again, we have the vicious cycle in full operation. For fears depress function, including the function of elimination. Retained waste creates still greater fears, until there is often a breakdown of the nerves. And the same old argument starts all over again as to whether the nerve state causes the toxic condition or vice versa. Well, that's the end of that story. Let's make a few comments on that. The medical fraternities would have us believe that mental disease is caused by a deficiency of pharmaceuticals. Their philosophies are as dangerous as their drugs. We know better. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. In the case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Unhealthful conditions should be changed, wrong habits corrected. Then nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities and to re-establish right conditions in the system. No drugs required. God has made provisions for the terrible emergencies of disease. That's the end of that story. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next.